Godswill Akpabio talking about the Senate president for inflating his own budget. So to say, they say pardon. Yeah, so we'll be looking at that issue. Why would the Senate president? It's been a long time we heard about pardon. I think it was at the 9th or 8th assembly we had a lot of pardon.
Yeah, we did.
Goodluck Jonathan's era, we had a lot of pardon. And so it's resurfacing again, but this time around the defense is that the civil society organization, SERAP. I think one thing about SERAP, they are very quick to sue, take people to court, but okay, I think they've won once or twice.
Yeah, they have.
But I think it's even if they don't win all the time, it's good to know there's a CSO that's always putting government on their toes.
And I like the way that headline was federal government versus the 20 concerned Nigerians. I like how that headline was captured, really. Of course, we are concerned. We should know what is happening when it comes to lawmakers, how activities are being done, especially in the National Assembly. The inflation was really high, like from what it was to what it is now. Seriously, the lawmakers, it's very important that everyone comes together, all hands on deck when it comes to that bill that was taken to the height.
I think I'll just tell you that besides, it's like we're having dollar issue, so they have to also increase theirs. Everybody, the shoemaker on the street is increasing his fares, so everybody has to increase. So I don't think I'm so surprised. I'm even surprised it took them this long before inflating it. But
you know what, Anthony? There's another story that talks about NLC going on strike when it comes to the minimum wage that has been lingering for quite some time now, and I saw someone at least from 30,000 naira to 35,000 naira due to all of these inflation that is happening with the naira and the dollar and all of that. So I think we should talk about the masses first that voted you into power. I think they are the most important before all of these bills are being raised. It's very important we should do the needful when it comes to the NLC, when it comes to minimum wage, which is very important. Of course, that's almost the next story, which you will be reading out to us.
All right, talking about the minimum wage, I think it's all about setting up of the panel and the NLC. They're already spoiling for war. I think we expect that to happen.
It has lingered.
But the federal government did say it was going to kickstart in April, and we know that they were supposed to set up a tripartite committee. There's the people that would finally do the negotiation. So the issue now, as of last week, we were told a list has been sent forward to the federal government as regards the people who will be representing the NLC, the TUC, the other stakeholders, the civil society, and some other non-state actors. But the issue is right now is the amount, what the amount should be, is where the cross is already. So, but let's see, time is going to tell, but I think it's too early for the NLC and TUC to already start saying they're spoiling for war already. They should probably wait, let them sit at the table, and if probably what they're suggesting or insinuating, the federal government is not buying into it, and then they can now start talking about protest or going for strike. I think it's too early.
But it's for me, Anthony, it's never too early. We know how all of these things always play out. The back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and at the long run, well, I'm not predicting anything, but we all know how it plays out. It's a routine. Of course, we know how the NLC have threatened to go on strike. They've gone on 3-day strike, 5-day strike when it comes to things, not even in regards to the minimum wage, but other concerning issues of the nation. And we know how it plays out. We know how the federal government always lingers when it comes to issues like this. It's very important they take it seriously. I think it's never too early to say I think it's never too early to say it is too early to start so they will know how serious they are, so they can take this seriously. Many people, civil servants, cannot, and I repeat, cannot pay their house rent, cannot afford to pay school fees when it comes to the daily needs, the basic amenities. Many people are going through it. I think April is even too far. I think it's now. Let us start now, so we'll know that there will be an outcome of progress during that time when it comes to April. Like, seriously, Tony.
All right, so well said there. I hope the relevant authorities are listening and getting a feel or the pulse of Nigerians, how they feel. Like you rightly pointed out, from 197 billion naira to 344 billion naira is what the lawmakers are allocating to themselves. So
that's a lot.
It put in contrast what the civil servants are asking for new minimum wage. Can we get 100,000 as minimum wage? If that is a deal, then I think the federal government is beginning to make sense if they can get that as a minimum wage. That's why I said I think they need to sit at the round table and talk first, probably come to the desk and talk, then issues will be sorted out. But looking at it, I just want to give this present administration some benefit of doubt. We saw those issues play out in the last administration, but this is Tinubu's administration. He might just want to do something different, and so let's see, probably he'll get something really fantastic.
And with what is ongoing, when it talks about suspension, probe, and all of that, so far so good. And of course, I keep reflecting back to the New Year's Day speech that was given by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which gave a sense of hope, a sense of relief that there will be monitoring teams to monitor all of these individuals in authority, to just bring a sense of succor when it comes to civil servants, individuals who are actually struggling, the vulnerable. Everyone is being carried along. So, like you said, let's give the benefit of doubt. But for me, it's never too late to start this particular negotiation when it comes to civil servants and, of course, the federal government.
All right. We hope the federal government will do the needful so that negotiations can actually kick-start. Another very interesting talking point over the weekend was the Nigerian police force urging Nigerians to, if you see something, say something as regards people carry firearms. And my issue is when you make those reports, I hope it doesn't come back to haunt the Nigerians who give those information. That has always been the crux of Nigerians.
Yes, it has. It has.
Is that the best way they can, like recover arms from Nigerians? I don't think that's the best way. We know that they should start with the politicians because they give their talks, their pathful faithfuls, all these arms during elections. So I think they could try and mop up arms in a different way, because when the police start saying the citizens should get to do their job, then it's worrisome.
Yes, it's worrisome. And at the same time, individuals, first of all, you ask, why are individuals with firearms? Due to what? It's for protection, right? Yeah, and of course, the safety of their lives.
That's for the sincere ones.
That's for the sincere ones. But the truth is, if I see something, say something, it doesn't matter whether you're sincere or not, I should be able to report that, hey, he's with a firearm, because we do not know the next step. You think people are going through so much. Psychologically, people are going through a lot. So you'd be surprised that the sincere one who is sane can end up doing something the next minute. So that's why they're saying, if you see something, say something. But at the same time, individuals are actually saying they are not safe. So firearms is the best solution. Well, I don't know how true that is. From the opinion I got, I was speaking to someone over the weekend. He was like, I think it's right that everyone should own firearms because of what is going on, this insecurity. You heard about armed men that entered into one of these Lugbe estates and kidnapped a lawyer, the wife, and an in-law. You can see things are happening, and they were shooting before the army. And then, of course, looking at the army estate, that's in that particular area in Lugbe. Okay. And then you heard before the army personnel came in, there was like a rift, the firearms going on between them, and of course the armed men swift away with the wife and the in-laws, and so many things that happen. Insecurity in the FCT is on the rise. So that firearms, reporting, I don't know how effective that will be. I don't know, my own opinion.
For some security experts, they believe if Nigerians are allowed to bear arms, there's going to be a lot of killings. And
true.
If you look at the fact that in terms of the drug-related drug abuse we have in the country on the very high, so if Nigerians, especially Nigerian youths, are so much into drugs, so you can imagine what's going to happen if Nigerians start to bear arms. So I think we're still not ripe for that, but community policing is a talking point we need to probably give us a third, look at, because the fear has been that state government would use it against their rivals and the elites in a particular state. But now, the way it's going, I think community policing will be very effective in terms of what Olu Muyiwa is calling for. That's the PRO of the police, who is saying, okay, if you see anybody with an arm, get to report. With community policing, I think that will make it more effective.
Yeah,
so let's see what's going to play out in the coming days. I think we've got some stories, Jackson.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And now you've only showed me that you do not like, you're not a foodie like me.
Okay.
Really, because you didn't pronounce taste and texture.
No,
You didn't
I was
taste-
I was giving you a clue, like
No, you
a
were
clue
not.
in for you to, because I don't want to take your shine. I know you're good in the kitchen, so I wanted to enjoy.
I'm good in the kitchen. Okay, well,
Okay.
of course we have
I'm better in the kitchen.
Of course, we have rundowns when it comes to our segments. We have taste and texture, we have business, we have sports, and of course, we have the first discussion of the day, newspaper review, and then the first discussion of the day on the Global Morning. It promises to be interesting, right, Anthony?
Yeah, definitely. We've got one of Nigeria's finest lawyers who will be coming to talk to us. His name is Barrister Kester Elebe Sunu, who will be coming to tell us more about this federal government labor organized
versus
labor,
Labour Party,
yes,
yeah, Labour
what
Union.
we should be expecting when negotiations start already, especially with the list already forwarded to the federal government, who and who should be in the list, and where should the negotiations start from? Is it 100,000 upwards or 100,000 downwards? I guess it's as good as mine.
Of course.
For me, I think 100,000. But the problem is, if they make it 100,000, people in the market they're going to increase their prices because they believe, oh, civil servants has got a lot of money to try around. Probably that's where price control comes into play.
Yes, price control would,
for food items.
Yes, well,
consumables.
definitely price control will definitely come into play. Food items, like when it comes to rent, for instance, when I read that report and I saw many civil servants cannot afford to pay rent. In Lagos State Governor has issued that you
cannot increase your rent.
You cannot increase your rent, and you pay. Is it 6 months and then 6 months again?
But not full 1 month.
No, because you, of course, the issues on ground before all of these issues, but that has been the stake in Lagos as we speak. But definitely there will be control of school price. That's if marketers will adhere. Because they'll tell you it's my money.
Once is a rule, in a state like Lagos where rules are obeyed, I think it will fly.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed. But 100,000 is not a bad idea.
To start with for civil servants.
Civil servants,
but my question is, what happens to the private sector? Are they going to get some relief? Because nobody speaks for the private sector. Most times they speak for the public sector.
And not forgetting that it's not everyone that can be civil servants.
Yeah, truly. But well, let's see how the negotiations play out. All right, we've got something for us. Let's quickly go for a quick break and probably see if we've got taste and texture for you. Then I will come back and give you some business news for the day. And AM News is still by the corner where we'll give you all the big stories making the rounds in Nigeria and on the globe. Stay with us. We mustn't forget to give kudos to the Nigerian police force, the Nigerian army, for the rescue of the remaining
Oh, yes.
girls. Talking about the Kajuru,
Bori, yes.
those the sisters. The
That were
family,
adopted, yes,
yes,
yes, but unfortunately, of course, one of those siblings were killed in the course of this whole act of adoption and kidnapping.
talking about Nabi has.
Nabi has, yes, but all in all, we should be grateful that the girls, those in captivity, have been rescued by the security agents, so kudos, and not just them, and others that were kidnapped with them in the Kajuru, in Kaduna forest, in the southern part of Kaduna. So unfortunately for the kidnappers, unfortunately for the adopters, that they have been rescued, thank God.
Unfortunately for the kidnappers.
Yes, because they have been caught and then they've been brought to book. Unfortunately for them, that's so.
Well, I think it's fortunate. I'm happy. I just felt it was too nice.
It sounded nice.
Yeah, it sounded too nice.
Yeah, because you see, that's the thing. Evil will not rule. See, God is so great that these siblings that caused a nationwide spread of worry and all of that, and now, thank God, all is well now.
But I just had, I don't know, I just had this thought in my head after the news broke that the girls have been rescued. I was okay. I just thought, how suddenly they knew where the girls were? How come suddenly it was easy for them to rescue
the girls?
Was there a agreement to say, bros, this
was any ransom paid?
This thing is getting out of hand. You have to release them. If not, I'll get implicated. So, because the swiftness at which they succeeded and without losing anyone, I think is commendable. At the same time, it makes me wonder: is there something?
Suspicion.
Yeah. Was there a collaboration between? Someone somewhere.
Yeah. When that news broke, when I read it during the News Express yesterday, and I read it, and the same thought went through my mind that what is going on? It was too swift, too quick. Then if it's so sad where we are right now. So someone had to actually die before we rose an alarm that, okay, so one anonymous, someone brought out 50 million naira when it came to the rescue of these girls. It had to get to that point where everyone was on their edge, everyone was on the toe. Someone had to die for these girls to be rescued. It's so sad.
And if it is true that there was a compromise by the security agency or someone is government, someone in government, or ransom was paid, then my question is, why didn't they just pay these monies initially? Why did we have to wait for us to lose Nabiha? And probably there should be something to immortalize her, remember her, celebrate her, something like that. And it's very, very sad, a very sad commentary, and we hope more details about this rescue operation will come out someday, so we get to know the nitty-gritty.
Looking back, no one is talking about these girls that were adopted, the one that has been in captivity for so long.
Chibok girls.
The Chibok girls. Leah. No one is talking
Leah,
about.
by now, we will be turning to Gamma by now. It's so long a time, and I hope that if she's still alive.
If she's still alive.
Very sad. I think if there's anybody that owes us explanation to that, should be ex-President Muhammad Buhari, because he gave us lots of assurance
that she was going to be rescued. And now it's like a numb now. Everyone is just living with it. No one is talking about Leah Shaibu, which is so sad.
I think we're tired of talking about it. The assurances came so much, and we believed the government, but. We are. She's still not here with us. But whoever she is, we hope she's alive, and we hope someday she's just going to show up. And a very sad commentary. But
very sad.
We want to say thank you to the Nigerian Police Force for rescuing the remaining sisters. I think that's the best we can say, and congratulations to the family.
Yes.
Better losing one than losing all of them, I think. But
not losing any at all. But it's really sad.
It's
really sad.
So congratulations to the family, and thank you, the Nigerian Police Force, for job well done.
And the Nigerian Army.
You prevent this and not let it happen. I hope that we have more cases like that. All right, so let's see some taste and texture. Then after that, we'll take you into the newsroom to get fed with all the big stories making the rounds. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome to another episode on Taste and Texture. I'm Fatimi Abba Umar. Gizdodo is a Yoruba delicacy made of gizzard and dodo plantain. This is a side dish eaten at home or occasions. Gizdodo is a delicious combination of fried gizzard and plantain dodo in a tasty sauce. The exact origin of gizdodo is difficult to trace, but Nigerian event caterers were the first to serve them alongside small chops on special occasions. It can also be served as a side dish with rice, yam, or chips. Gizdodo ingredients: enough to serve 6 with the preparation time of 45 minutes. 3 giant-sized ripe plantain, chicken or turkey gizzard 500 grams, 4 cups of sliced tomatoes, half cup of sliced pepper, Scotch bonnet, 1 cup of sliced onion, 1 cup of sliced green pepper, 2 seasoning cubes, 150 ml vegetable oil, salt to taste. Extra vegetable oil for frying plantain 400 ml. The actual recipe for gizdodo takes 150 ml of vegetable oil. The extra oil will be used for frying the ripe plantain gizdodo. Preparation: start by peeling off the back of the plantain and chopping to smaller bits with kitchen knife. Slice the tomatoes, pepper, and onions as seen here. And now to the gizzard preparation. There is really nothing special about cooking gizzard. You just want it soft and tasty, so you can use the same technique employed when cooking chicken or beef. Step 1. Wash the gizzards with hot water and pre-cook for 20 minutes. Use a seasoning cube, half teaspoon of salt, and a cup of sliced onions. Step 2. Check to see the gizzards is soft and chop to smaller bits. There are some of the needed ingredients. What you need to find at top right of the chopped ripe plantain, chopped gizzards at the bottom right, then sliced tomatoes, onions, and green beans in the plate at the left corner. And now to the gizdodo preparation. Step 1. Fry the plantain with 400 ml of vegetable oil until it turns golden. Scoop into a sieve and allow it to sit for a while. Step 2. Reduce the oil to 150 ml and fry the chopped gizzard. The gizzard will be dark brown when it's properly fried. Remove the gizzards when it is fried and pour in the same remaining half cup of onion. Stir and add the tomatoes. Step 4. Add the sliced pepper and allow it to fry for 10 to 15 minutes. Remember to stir occasionally so it doesn't get burnt. Step 5. Once the tomatoes is properly fried, you're almost done with making the gizdodo. And now, add the seasoning cube to it and salt to taste. Step 6. Transfer the fried gizzards, plantain, and sliced green peppers. Add a pinch of salt. Stir all together and taste for salt. Allow to simmer for 3 to 5 minutes. Then serve hot. This is just how to make gizdodo. Sounds simple, right? It's amazing and tastes superb. Step 7. Remove the gizzards when it's fried and pour the remaining half cup of onion. Stir and add tomatoes. Step 8. Add the sliced pepper and allow it to fry for 10 to 15 minutes. Remember to stir occasionally so it doesn't get burnt. Step 9. Once the tomato is properly fried, you're almost done with making gizdodo. Add the seasoning cube to it and salt to taste. Step 10. Transfer the fried gizzards, plantain, and sliced green peppers. Add a pinch of salt. Stir all together and taste for salt. Allow to simmer for 3 minutes. Then serve hot. That is just how to make simple gizdodo. Sounds simple, right? Gizdodo can be served as a course meal or side dish in Nigeria. Usually, it works best with jollof rice as it appears in the image below. It can be served as a course meal or side dish. That's all for now. Thank you. See you next time, same time for another episode of Taste and Texture. Bye.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global TV. We're live in the nation's capital. Jumai Manson. Now the news. Non-aligned movement at the weekend in Kampala, Uganda. President Tinubu, however, pointed out that the developing world is not looking for sympathy or begging, but fair and equal opportunity. The president, who was represented by the summit by the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, noted that the combined population of 120 countries that make up the non-aligned movement is over 4.4 billion, or about 55% of the world's population. Yet the total financial resource available to all these countries are much less than that of some countries. President Tinubu also listed the challenges facing the world currently, to include climate change, conflict and war, terrorism, and widening inequality, stressing that the calls for greater collaboration between and among member states as they struggle to achieve sustainable development goals. Still on, President Bola Tinubu has approved the reappointment of Dr. Bayero Farah as Director General, Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology, NITT Zaria, for a second term of 4 years. This is contained in a statement by the spokesperson of the Institute, John Kolawole, and made available to newsmen in Zaria on Friday. According to him, the reappointment, in accordance with the provisions of the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology Act, 1986 laws of the Federation of Nigeria. It stated that Farah possessed track record of sterling and exceptional performance, which led to the massive and unprecedented transformation of NITT to its unrivaled status since inception in 1986. The immediate past president, 35 regular corps retired Air Commodore Emmanuel Gillett, has called on the federal government to continue to prioritize the welfare of retired military personnel in the country. Gillett made the call at a gala night as part of activities commemorating the 35 regular corps' 40th anniversary on Saturday in Abuja, saying the call was imperative considering the level of special skills they acquired and the dynamics of insecurity in the country. Gillett noted that military men who had served his country diligently up to the point of retirement have been invested in so much in terms of training and skills. He added that it was incumbent of the government to see to the welfare of members of the security agencies, particularly those that had skills that could be borrowed or paid by insurgents. Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, SIRAP, and 20 concerned Nigerians have sued the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, for unilaterally and arbitrarily increasing the allocation for lawmakers from 197 billion naira to 344 billion naira, representing highest since the return of democracy in 1999. The President presented the Appropriation Bill 2024, made up of 27.5 trillion naira, to the National Assembly on November 29, 2023. The National Assembly on December 30, 2023 passed the Appropriation Bill 2024 in the sum of 28.7 trillion naira. That, while exercising its legislative powers, Akpabio and Abbas increased the appropriation bill by 1.2 trillion naira, wherein the first and second defenders unilaterally increased allocations made to the National Assembly in Appropriation Bill 2024. Presented by President from 197 billion 932 million 616 billion naira to 344.85 billion naira in the suit filed last Friday at the Federal High Court, Abuja. On behalf of SIRAP and 20 concerned Nigerians by their lawyers, Kolawole Oluwadare and Andrew Owankwo, the plaintiffs were asking the court to determine whether the lawmakers, in the exercise of their powers over appropriation money bills, can unilaterally increase their own budget without the representation of budget by the executives. Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has said the burial of the late former Governor Rotimi Akeredolu won't be a gloomy affair, but a celebration of life. Aiyedatiwa also said Akeredolu would be given a state burial, adding that his family is being awaited for further briefing on the burial rites. The governor said this while receiving the new Vice-Chancellor of Elizade University, Ilara Makun, Professor Kayode Ajedunola, who visited him in Akure. Aiyedatiwa noted that Elizade University is a fantastic institution, saying the state government holds the founder, Chief Michael Adeojo, in high esteem. Earlier, Ajedunola called for a strong collaboration between the Ondo state government and the university. This was contained in a statement by the school's head public relations, Williams Olufumi. An explosion in Gidanden village of Giwa local government area of Kaduna State has claimed the life of a pupil of an Islamia school, while 10 others have reportedly been injured. The overseeing Commissioner of Internal Security and Home Affairs in Kaduna, Samuel Aruwan, in a statement said the explosion was being investigated by security agencies. Aruwan said one pupil, Zaidu Usman, has been confirmed dead, while about 10 others were injured and were receiving medical attention at the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital, Shika Zaria. He said the governor has also appealed to parents and community leaders to increase their vigilance on the activities of their children and wards given to various dangers. The Federal Capital Territory Police Command has revealed details of how the Al-Khair sisters and other abducted victims were rescued from the bandits' den in Kajuru Forest in Kaduna State by a joint team of policemen and soldiers of the Nigerian Army on Saturday night. About 23 persons were abducted on January 2nd, 2023 in the Zuma 1 area of Kawu in the Buhari Area Council of Abuja. The police on Sunday confirmed that all the victims, including 5 sisters whose adoption has raised nationwide concerns, were rescued about 11 p.m. on Saturday and had since been reunited with their families. The bandits terrorizing the FCT and neighboring states of Kaduna, Nasarawa and Niger were camped in the Kajuru Forest in the southern Kaduna area of Kaduna State. Over now to the Nigerian Navy ship Beecroft Patrol Team, in collaboration with the Forward Operating Base Badagry, has said they arrested a wooden boat with over 800 jerry cans of 30 liters premium motor spirit close to the boundary between Nigeria and Benin Republic. The statement by the NNS Beecroft Base Information Officer Sub-Lieutenant H.A. Collins, the arrest was made on Friday. The commander, Commodore Kolawole Oguntuga, said the boat, which was sailing seaward 8 nautical miles from the shore, was intercepted by the NNS Beecroft Patrol Team in collaboration with the Forward Operation Base Badagry. The Rivers Command of NDLEA arrested 295 drug suspects in 2023. Its commander, Ahmed Mamadou, has said those arrested were 237 males and 58 females. The command seized 562.239 kg of assorted illicit drugs from the suspects. Mamadou said the command secured the conviction of 115 males and 21 females, who also forfeited 1.2 million naira to the agency, while 47 cases were still pending. The commander stated also that the command successfully rehabilitated 53 drug-dependent males who had been reunited with their families. He added that the command provided 112 male and 35 female drug users with counseling and aftercare treatment in 2023. And still on the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency on Sunday disclosed that its operatives from different special units have successfully intercepted large consignments of cocaine and Colorado, a strong strain of cannabis concealed in containerized household items and vehicle imported from Durban, South Africa and Canada at the Tinkan Seaport in Lagos. Spokesman Femi Babafemi said the interception were made between Thursday 18th and Friday 19 January 2024. Some of the items recovered from the containers include 1,274 parcels of cocaine and Colorado with a total weight of 884.09 kilograms, 4 pistols, 197 rounds of 9mm ammunition, 49 rounds of 7.62mm ammunition, 275 rounds of 5.56mm ammunition, 14 rounds of 9 ammunition, and sundry military personnel effects, as well as some chemicals in kegs, with the exception of 32.5 kg shipments of Colorado that came in used vehicles from Canada. The rest of the items were found in 2 of 3 containers that arrived at Tinkan Port from Durban, South Africa, on board a vessel and discharged on New Year Eve, 31st December 2023. The police force public relations officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi has urged Nigerians to report anyone seen with live ammunitions to curb arms proliferation in Nigeria. In what Fayoade called a mark of his achievement since taking office, the police commissioner listed no fewer than 14 cases cracked and a recovery of a total of 16 firearms, including a toy pistol, 72 live cartridges, 75 live ammunitions, 1 expended cartridge, and 1 pistol magazine. The police also recovered 6 axes, 4 daggers, 1 digger, 5 cutlasses, 2 vehicles, 1 POS machine, fake registration plates, and various charms. And still on the police command in Lagos State says its operative arrested 3 suspected cultists in Ishashi area of the state. The Commissioner of Police in Lagos, Adegoke Fayoade, had promised to rid the state of criminals. Handeyin said the 3 suspects were arrested on Saturday at about 6:30 a.m. by the police. He explained that operatives from the Ishashi division were quickly drifted to the community and arrested the suspects, who were between the ages of 24 and 39. Handeyin said that investigations has begun and the suspects will soon be charged to court. Still on the news, the National University Commission, NUC, has blamed the proliferation of illegal degree awarding institutions on parents whom he said had placed a premium on university certification. The acting executive secretary, Chris Meyaki, said this on Sunday in Abuja, adding that uncredited degree awarding institutions and satellite campuses remain banned in the country. Miyake explained that a committee was, however, set up to stamp out illegal institutions across the country. He advised parents to thoroughly scrutinize institutions before sending their awards there to acquire certificates, saying the challenge of access to the huge gap between supply and demand makes parents desperate about getting university education for their children, and this makes them vulnerable to greedy and fraudulent persons with commercial undertone. He also said a committee was reconstituted in 2021 to identify and prosecute operators of illegal institutions, noting that efforts record a huge success. And over now to food and animal experts have stated that consumption of animal blood as meat, especially from diseased animals, could lead to another outbreak of anthrax, among other zoonotic diseases. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention in July 2023 confirmed the anthrax outbreak in a mixed livestock farm in Niger State. We can transmit it through the consumption of raw, undercooked meat and other products of affected animals. The WHO states that there are over 200 types of zoonoses, comprising a large percentage of new existing disease in humans. According to an animal feed resource information system, Feedelphia, blood collected during the slaughter of various livestock species, such as cattle, pigs, and chicken, under a wide range of conditions, is dried through solar, oven drum flash, and spray drying. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMNET, has predicted sunshine haziness from Sunday to Tuesday across the country. NIMNET's weather outlook released on Saturday in Abuja predicted sunny and hazy atmosphere over northern and north-central states during the forecast period. The agency said a moderate dust haze with visibility range of 2 kilometers to 5 kilometers is anticipated over the island states throughout the forecast period. It even said early morning mist or fog over the coastal states and patches of clouds in a hazy atmosphere over the coastal states during the afternoon and evening hours. For Monday, sunny and hazy atmosphere is expected over the northern, north-central, and the island states during the forecast period. Dust particles are in suspension. Public should take necessary precaution. People with asthma and other respiratory issues should be cautious of the present weather situation. Airline operators are advised to get updates with weather reports from NIMNET for effective planning in their operations. Disaster risk management agencies and individuals should be proactive to avert loss of lives and property. And you're watching the AM News, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us all social media platforms using at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. When AM News returns, stock market records unprecedented 6.3 trillion naira gain. The news continues shortly with details of these and more stories right after this break. Do stay with us. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is Global Television bringing you live broadcasts of AM News. Thank you for staying with us. The Nigerian Society of Engineers, NSE, has advocated the implementation of Grade Level 09 as entry point for engineers in government service, as stated that has not affected their policy. The first female president of NSC, Margaret Oguntala, made the call during her investiture as the 31st president of the engineering professional body in Abuja. She also called for policy formation that would compel employers of labor to pay commensurate welfare package, hazard allowance to engineers. Oguntala said the advocacy would be key among her focus in the next 2 years as a president of NSE. According to her, setting clear focus areas is paramount to guide in the collective effort of accomplish her vision. And over now to our foreign desk, the White House announced that U.S. President Joseph Biden has dispatched a delegation of top officials to attend Monday's inauguration of Liberian President-elect Joseph Boakai, signaling Washington's intent to strengthen bilateral relations with the West African nation. The delegation, led by U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, includes senior White House and State Department officials, reflecting the importance Biden places on U.S.-Liberian ties. In a statement, Biden congratulated Boakai and the Liberian people on the peaceful presidential election and transition. The White House said the delegation highlights America's enduring commitment to supporting democracy and good governance in Liberia. According to the State Department, the visit also cements 160 years of diplomatic relations between two countries. The U.S. has focused engagement with Liberia on consolidating democratic progress, improving capacity, transparency, and accountability of governance institutions. The two countries enjoy bilateral trade and investment framework agreement. And over now to health. The health ministry in Hamas-run Gaza said Sunday at least 25,105 people have been killed in the Palestinian territory since the war with Israel broke out on October 7th. A ministry statement said some 681 people were also wounded in the fighting between Israeli forces and Palestinian militants. Over the past 24 hours, the military said 174 people have been killed across the Gaza Strip, while the Hamas government media office said dozens are still under the rubble. In a separate statement, dozens of martyrs, as well as people who were injured, could not be transferred to hospitals due to continued artillery shelling on several areas of the southern city of Khan Yunis and some other parts of the Strip. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has again appealed for a humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza and unconditional release of all hostages. Guterres made the call in his message to the summit of a non-aligned movement, NAM, at Kampala, Uganda. Leaders from the 120-member bloc met amid deep division globally, including raising geopolitical tension, climate catastrophe, widespread poverty, and raging conflict in Sudan, Ukraine, and Gaza. According to him, the UN has also been affected as 152 staffs have been killed. Meanwhile, disease and hunger are deepening. Although humanitarians are doing their best to deliver aid, they face constant bombardments and daily dangers amid enormous constraints posed by damaged roads, communication blackouts, and access denials. And still on Hamas, Qatar-based Chief Ismail Haniyeh has held a meeting with the Turkish foreign minister, and the first official contract between the two for more than 3 months. Foreign Minister Hakim Fidan made the Haniyeh on Saturday in Turkey. Hamas militants seized about 250 hostages when they launched unprecedented attacks in Israel on October 7th, and the release of the remaining captives, along with the establishment of ceasefire as quickly as possible, were the main topic of discussions, according to one of the sources. Israel has vowed to destroy Hamas in response to the Islamist group's October attack that resulted in the deaths of about 1,140 people, mostly civilians, according to the AFP tally based on the official Israeli figures. Its relentless bombardment and ground offensive has killed at least 24,927 people in Gaza, mostly women and children, according to the Hamas-run health ministry in the territory. A fire broke out early Sunday at natural gas terminal in the Russian Baltic seaport of Ust-Luga, the regional governor said. The terminal, 110 kilometers, 7 meters west of St. Petersburg, near the eastern border, is operated by Novatek, Russia's largest independent natural gas producer. Governor of Leningrad, Upslak Al-Khazdar, posted on Telegram along with a short video showing a massive fire and smoke at the chemical complex, stating that no casualties as a result of fire at Novatek's terminal in the port of Yus-Laga. Personnel were evacuated. The Russian Ministry of Emergency Institutions and local fire service were involved in fighting the blaze, he added. Russia's defense ministry announced Sunday that Ukrainian attacks overnight have been foiled, but made no mention of any incident in the Leningrad region. And on business, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority has said it will spend 8.3 billion naira on transportation and travels in 2024. The agency disclosed this in the government-owned enterprise budget proposed submitted to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu recently. The regulator proposed to spend 8,342,547,767 from the proposed expenditure on travels and transport. The document also stated that NCAA budgeted 715,467,778 million for a local travel and others, and plans to pay 1,935,000 as a contribution to international organization. Other expenditures contained in the proposed budget include the purchase of vehicles of 3 million naira, purchase of furniture and office fittings 1,352,997, construction of office buildings 3,970,000, and provision of electricity and 1,205,000. The agency also said it will spend 1 billion naira on airport maintenance of physical assets and facilities. The Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria, according to its 2024 budget, will spend a total of 6.2 billion naira on the purchase of motorcycles and tricycles as empowerment programs for Nigerian youths and women. This is despite a full partial ban by 12 states governments and the Federal Capital Territory on operations of motorcycles. The governors in different reports said the embargo was part of measures to curb rising insecurity. The states include Cross River, Kaduna, Enugu, Akwa Ibom, Kano, Rivers, Abia, Anambra, Adamawa, Borno, Kwara, and Zamfara State. The agency saddled with the responsibility of assisting small and medium-scale enterprise to overcome poor infrastructure and the management of business operations and assessing financial service, amongst others. Challenges earmarked a substantial amount for the empowerment. The momentum in the Nigerian Exchange Limited (NGX) moved up to a new height for the third consecutive week this year, with investors gaining an unprecedented 6.293 trillion naira at the close of trading over the weekend, the highest in the history of the Nigerian stock market. This comes as Nigerian's currency naira sank deeper in the parallel market during the weekend, trading at 1,270 naira to a US dollar, the weakest in history. Meanwhile, the NGX All-Share Index ASI, a major stock market indicator, surpassed the 90,000 point mark, driven by robust investors' interest in diverse stocks across the industrial, insurance, oil and gas, and consumer goods sectors, to close on Friday at 94,538.12 points from 83 and 42.96 points in the previous week. Analysts of the market last week showed that the NGX market capitalization, which represents the total value of stocks in the exchange, surged to 51.735 trillion naira from 45.442 trillion naira the previous week. Consecutively, the year-to-date YTD return surged to 26.4%. Still on the news, moving on now on the news. And on sports, Falcons qualified for the World Cup after defeating their counterparts from Burundi by the leg of the FIFA Under-20s World Cup final. The match was played at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja. Sokpeyemi Ajakaye scoring the only goal of the counter in the 79th minute. The goal landed Nigeria 2-0 aggregate victory in the final round of the qualifying round, having won the first leg also by the lone goal in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania on January 14th. The Nigerian girls created opportunity after opportunity but failed to convert them to make their vast superiority count. And now, still on sport, FIFA President Gianni Infantino called for worldwide stadium bans for fans and automated forfeits for teams whose supporters hurl apparent abuse following racist incidents. In total in England on Saturday, the heads of women's world governing body said there was no place for discrimination of any kind in the sports of wider society. The event that took place in Udine and Sheffield on Saturday are totally abhorrent and completely unacceptable, he said in a statement. Fans aimed monkey chats at AC Milan and France goalkeeper Mike Mergen during Milan's dramatic 3-2 win in Udinese, with the game temporarily halted. Coventry midfielder Casey Palmer accused the Sheffield Wednesday fans of doing the same to him during the England Championship clash, which his team won 2-1 on Saturday. And that's it on AM News, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Remember, we're on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. See you again. Good morning.
That's our producer in the MCR there, the magic. The more you see, the less you understand. Zuliat's there giving some magic to the breakfast show. All right, welcome back from the AM News. It's time for us to give you more news, this time how to make money and how the money business in the world of business is going through. And now we have Kike Lomo Okere. I like the way she stresses it when she calls that name, tells you money means, quest means business, Okere means business, so to say. So let's hear Okere tell us business matters. Then when we come back, we'll have other lots of goodies just for you. Stay with us.
The Executive Director and the Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, says an increase in the volume and value of exportable goods and services and the repatriation of export proceeds will enhance foreign exchange inflow into the country, as well as stabilize the value of Naira. The NEPC boss, however, acknowledged a decline in monetary terms of Nigerians' exports from 4.8 billion naira in 2022 to 4.5 billion naira in 2023. Ayeni listed the factors responsible for the decline to include political instability in many exportable countries, rejection of some Nigerian products, and exchange rates, among others. She therefore expressed the Council's commitment to tackle most of these challenges to ensure growth of the sector in shortest possible time.
Commodities in terms of total exported products were urea, fertilizer, which accounted for 20.10%, while cocoa beans came second at 13.19%. Sesame seed took the third position at 9.03%. There are quite a number of other exportable products that contributed significantly to huge volume of our export in 2023.
Considering the major challenges facing exporters is the issue of export reject, NEPC boss says the council is collaborating with relevant authorities to create awareness, build capacity in the area of good agricultural practice, labeling and packaging, and ensuring adherence to quality and standard of export in the global market. She said on the products exported, the NEPC boss says 273 different products were reported to have been exported in the period under review, ranging from manufactured, semi-processed, solid mineral to agricultural commodities. She says this figure reflected a notable increase of approximately 28.04% compared to the preceding year.
However, notably Brazil, China, and Japan emerged as the top three importing countries respectively for non-oil export products exported from Nigeria. 13 member countries of ECOWAS, excluding Cape Verde, actively engaged in the importation of Nigerian products throughout the year 2023. 1,694,000 metric tons, amounting to $343.9 million, accounted for 7.6% of the total export value. Interestingly, only Ghana made it to the top 20 global importers from Nigeria, occupying the 18th position on the export log.
She further rules out that Nigerian non-oil penetrates markets across 124 countries in America, Asia, Europe, among others. 13 member countries of ECOWAS actively imported Nigerian products, with 1,145 exporting companies actively exporting Nigerian products in the year 2023. According to NEPC boss, this figure can be improved with adequate funding, capacity building, and mentorship.
However, I wish to use this medium to implore financial institutions to take advantage of the opportunities in the non-oil export sector by supporting exporters to enhance their capacity to scale up production and access international markets, especially now that we have the African Continental Free Trade Zone, AfTA, which is the single largest economic bloc in the continent. This support is critical in increasing the basket of exportable non-oil exports, stimulating value addition, and thereby increasing our foreign exchange earnings.
She further reiterated the commitment of the Council to redouble its efforts towards repositioning the sector for sustainable and inclusive economic growth. Kikelomo Okere, Global Television News.
All right, welcome back from the business news. It's that time where we look at all the big stories that are making the rounds in Nigeria's national dailies, and we'll be looking at the dailies deeply. And I got a guest in the live studio, Sunday Ayemi, one of Nigeria's veteran journalists and a former producer of Kakaki, the African Voice on AIT. He'll be helping us look at all the big stories making the rounds in the papers. That will be quick one now. Let's see what the papers have got in store for us. All right, it's now time for us to look at the papers. I told you my guest is in the studio. He's Sunday Ayemi. He will be helping us do analysis of all the big stories we're looking at. We're starting with the Daily Trust this morning, the big headline stories. Meanwhile, just to say good morning to you, and how was the weekend? I know you traveled for a lot of activities.
Yeah.
How did the Nigerian roads looking in terms of
the roads
state of the roads?
Very, very terrible. Very, very terrible.
Which aspect of Nigerian?
Well, I went through Otukpo to Cross River, Benue State, up to Ebonyi to Cross River. The roads are very, very terrible. Very, very terrible. In fact, the major road that they normally used before, they have abandoned that one now. They are using another place now entirely, another corner inside the forest. So it is easy for you to get disappeared there without being traced.
Even with the banditry? And
yes, that's what I'm saying. Wow. They can take you out of that place without even, nobody cares to know where you are. But we thank God we went through and came back.
But what happened to all the roads Babatunde Fashola was,
That was a scam. Complete scam. If you are going to cross river from Abuja now, there are 2 ways or 3 ways rather.
Okay.
You either go through Lokoja, join Otukpa and continue, or you go through Owetu, join Benue and go ahead, or again through Makodi, join Katsina Land Junction and go through Ogoja and go ahead. All the roads are bad, completely bad. So what were they telling us that they were fixing? Nothing. Fashola never did anything. Never did anything. And then they are going to probe them. Yes, they should go ahead and probe them, because all the billions of naira that we had that were being given to that Ministry of Works, nothing happened.
Wow. Very sad commentary there as regards the bad state of our Nigerian roads. All right, let's quickly look into the papers. We're starting with the Daily Trust. ACF rejects relocation of CBN and FAN offices is one of the big headline stories there. Mobilizes top northerners against moves. 21st Daily Trust Dialogue. Edun Ejero others analyze Tinubu's reform. That's on Thursday. We have Nabiha's sisters, freedom, police, family disagree. 16 passengers die in Zaria-Kano highway crash. Very sad commentary there. We've got electricity subsidy. Federal government pays over 5 trillion naira in 10 years. That's a very big one there. All right, let's look at ACF, Arewa Consultative Forum, reject relocation of Central Bank of Nigeria and to Lagos. Do you think it's justified? Nigeria spent lots of millions and moving things from Lagos and to Abuja as the Federal Capital Territory. What sense does it make taking it back to Lagos? And why Lagos?
As a matter of fact, I don't see any difference, whether it is here or in Lagos. I don't see any difference of the location of Central Bank of Nigeria. So if they like, let them move it to Kano, to Bayelsa. Central Bank is still Central Bank. So even closer to you.
But wasn't the idea, wasn't it for everything to be at the center of the nation?
It doesn't mean, look at New York and look at Washington. There are certain things that are supposed to be in the capital. Some are supposed to be in the economic center of their country. But if you look at that, like what happened in the case of our National Theatre,
yes,
in Lagos,
yes,
that place was kept there unused for several years, and it now cost billions of naira for them to fix it down. That is how Central Bank in Lagos, with sprawling community there, it's being wasted. Some departments were shut down. So if there's a way of reactivating those structures for them not to get dilapidated, I think it's also good. Because me, I don't even see any difference there, whether Central Bank is here in Abuja or it goes back to Lagos. For instance, now there is no reason having naval headquarters in Abuja.
It should be in Lagos. That's his understanding because of the water bodies in Lagos.
But here they are. The naval headquarters is here. You understand? There's no reason having MPA in Abuja.
Nigeria Port Authority,
yeah. So what are we talking about? The SCF is afraid maybe it will cut down some jobs in the north here. And there too, we find it difficult assessing Lagos than they used to do in Abuja here. It's closer here.
It's center for everybody in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So, but is that not being unfair, not considering the other part of the country?
I don't see any unfairness in it.
And the fact that the president is from Lagos, didn't that look more like he was
I also do not want to see any political meanings into it. The president coming from Lagos State will not...
Then why didn't he take it to another state if he didn't have any political...
Where they have structures there. Where they have massive structures there in Lagos, where they started from before they moved to Abuja. You want that place to just go ahead and collapse?
But for years it has been in
but mark you, CBN has offices, structures in all the states.
Yeah.
So what makes it? What is the difference now? Whether if they like, they to carry the building and go to Lagos. There's nothing there because they still have their presence. Even if they move, their former structure in Garki 2 is still there, where they started before they built this other one.
So what's going to happen to this structure if now eventually...
They are not telling you they are going all and all with the cleaners. They say only some departments are being moved. That's some critical departments are being moved.
But is that justification if you say critical department? Why should critical department go to Lagos and not be at the capital?
They have reasons for that.
Okay. So let's see in the coming days what that will mean. ACF, why ACF really wants CBN to remain here. But for the fan offices, is there a justification for that too, moving some offices from the fan?
Absolutely, yes. You see, let me tell you, you have aviation sector. Lagos still remains the headquarters of aviation sector.
Okay. Why?
So if
in terms of
there are many flights that don't get to Abuja, even international flights.
Okay.
But if you are in Lagos, you connect every part of this country and every part of the world. But here, remember there are some time you want to go to US. You fly first to Lagos
yes.
before you connect your flight. You want to go to Ghana from here, you go first to Lagos before you connect your flight. But it is even more appropriate for them to go there.
Okay, let's hope this will not cause any rift in terms of whatever happens. Well, let's look at the recent Nabi has Sisters of Freedom, police and family disagree. Some people have insinuated that it was fishy how quickly and how easy the police was able to rescue the remaining 5 sisters, suggesting that probably there was some connivance somewhere because the swiftness in which they were able to, release those other 5 sisters unhurt and without minimal fouls.
You see, we just thank God that they were released. We thank God that they were released unhurt. But now saying that whether police were culpable
on some state actors.
I don't want to believe that too, because honestly, let us just thank God they came the way they came. Because the ransom was at a point raised up to 700. Who would have paid that 700? Almost $1 billion. Unless they know the background of the family. I bet now, even as they release them now, we don't even know how much they paid, because they would have been warned not to say it to anybody. Again, let us come to the real security aspect of this kidnapping and not kidnapping now. We all registered our phones with our
NIN and
BVN. I mean, the essence of this thing was to be able to track.
Yeah, so
in the case of anything, these people are making calls.
Yeah, because they call the families to negotiate.
They call the family to negotiate.
Even Nikon sats is there, they couldn't trace it via satellite.
And you cannot trace this thing. Okay, now, these people, you give them cartons of money, bills of money.
No chipping on the...
Can you not track this money? You give them currencies that are tracked. In fact, they have serial numbers. You can track those monies, even if you don't have a chip in it. But where this money is being spent, you monitor it, and the person who has the money will be able to trace where he or she gets the money, and that's how it will get to where it came from. Why can't we do that?
So, does that go back to the fact that probably there's some persons who are really collaborating for this thing to fester? Some people in government, because the security agencies...
It's not impossible. It's not impossible. In every successful kidnap, there are collaborators. In every successful kidnap. If not all, at least a higher percentage of it, there are collaborators who are informants. And also, can you imagine, like, last weekend, in one of the army estates, they went there to kidnap somebody inside the estate with perimeter fence and went successfully. So where is now safe? So we, like I said earlier, we only pray that, let it just be that you are not being seen on the street at all. You are not being seen at all. Even at home, you are not being seen because nowhere is safe. Especially at night. Nowhere is safe.
So are we saying the recent security summit held by Mr. President, service chiefs, and also Nelson Wike and other, they're not producing any result?
Well, I just want to hope that maybe they are just, by now they are still strategizing on what to come out or what will come out from that meeting. Otherwise, I just look it as a parley of tea and coffee. It's just when they took tea, coffee, shook hands and left. Because a parley of that magnitude by now Nigerians are supposed to see the effect of it.
Can we say one of the effects is the release of these girls, and would that have meant that, because that's why there's a lot of suspicion about the release of those girls, if that probably was one of the things that led to the successful, and how
we can also owe it to that, but again, now even the movement of the kidnappers.
And how come they didn't even trace them out?
That is what I want to say now. Their movement and those that they kidnapped from one town to the other, they were kidnapped in Abuja here. They released in Kaduna Forest. So that their movement, we don't have security men to trace, to even monitor.
Even air surveillance?
We don't have. You understand? Because they successfully left Abuja, went to Kaduna Forest, where they were now being seen. The news came that the sisters have been rescued. Were the kidnappers held? So, because it is now time to arrest, name, and shame, including their families. Up to their families, anywhere they are. Because if you arrest one Mr. A here, let us know where that Mr. A comes from. The family members. And the media will take it, and the family will sit up. Any family in this country will want their children, they want their words.
Oh, very sad commentary there. All right, so let's look at other big story from the Daily Trust. Has to do with electricity. Says the federal government. We've got the story from the Daily Trust. It says electricity subsidy is a kicker. Our federal government pays over 5 trillion in 10 years. Is this from petrol subsidy? Now we're looking at electricity subsidy, 5 trillion in 10 years. Are you comfortable with?
I can never be comfortable, even because the water we drink in FCT here, they say it's also been subsidized.
Is this a conduit pipe by the government?
So I don't even understand what. Maybe the air too is being the air we breathe. Maybe it's also being subsidized because now they told us they removed subsidy in May 29 last year.
Yeah.
The entire subsidy was removed. So what are they talking about? Subsidy. Now petrol, they still have subsidy. Electricity, they have subsidy. Water too, even our air. Please, unless they want to chase everybody away from the city, then we can go and leave the city for them. Let them subsidize themselves now. Do you know that quietly, electricity tariff has been increased? Quietly, without any announcement. You just wake up, you go and buy your token. You see that what you normally have before, it's being reduced. They just, without any notice, just bring.
It was mooted last week, but the government denied it. But
I said I bought some amount of it just yesterday. It has been increased. It has been increased. So we don't know what we are doing here.
So that means the subsidy. How is the subsidy?
How is the subsidy? How is it? What subsidy are you giving us? What subsidy are you giving us? When you have increased it to a maximal level, and you said you are telling us there is still subsidy in it. So at what point do we go? Then we know that there's no subsidy here again. What point? Now, if you look at fuel, they said ordinarily without subsidy, fuel is supposed to be 1,225 per liter. So, which means what they told us that they have removed is still there.
Yeah, that's what it means.
That's what it means. Look at the disparity now. NNPC is selling 617. Other major marketers, 640. Only one in the city center here that is selling for 660. 660. So you can see the difference between 660 and 617.
Very sad commentary there. All right, let's move on to other papers. We've got next we'll talk sports very soon, but let's look at the Punch newspaper, what the Punch has in store for us. It's the Punch newspaper. We've got banks enabling rapid growth of abduction industry. Kidnapping epidemic is the right kicker there. Banks enabling rapid growth of adoption industry, says expert. Group destroyed as fire got 10-story Lagos market building. NSCDC. Okay, let's see what that says there. But I think that big story catches our attention. Banks enabling rapid growth of abduction industry. Do you agree with experts who say that?
Well,
are the banks?
I don't think I should hold the blame now on the banks, because they are, from what maybe the person they interviewed there is saying now is maybe for allowing the withdrawal of huge amounts of money to pay for ransom. I wouldn't know what you want to do with the money if I'm a banker. If you tell me you want to withdraw your money, you have it there. I'll give you your money. You understand?
Yeah.
So long as it's within the limit allowable, I'll give you your money. If you use it to pay for ransom, it's your money. If you use it to buy whatever is good for you, it's your money. So you don't blame the banks here. You don't. Absolutely, I fault that report. You don't blame the bank. The banks are doing their job. If they don't give you that money, you will in turn blame them for not giving you your money. You will tell them that it's your money.
True.
And so I allow them do their job. You come for your money, you call for whatever you want, you collect your money, and that's it.
All right, let's look at other stories there. Foreign medical and school bills go up to $1.58 billion in 6 months, says the CBN. Foreign medical and school bills go up $1.58 billion in 6 months, said the CBN. Dangote refinery plans supply of 150,000 to Ipman stations. And Tinubu panel asks states to suspend low revenue taxes. We got NSCDC foiled 48 bandit attacks on schools. While Benin Ore Expressway kidnappers freed my father after 3 million ransom, says son. Then we've got forensic probe of the blast to determine next action, says federal government. Okay, let's look at Dangote refinery plans to supply 150,000 in terms of tons of crude oil to Ipman stations. That should be good news. Will that help our situation?
It is good news. And if he's not going to refine, he's sending just crude to Ipman station. What are Ipman station going to do with it? He should give them finished products, not crude. You understand? Because it's the same thing, that crude will still go abroad and come back here. If he's giving them crude. He collected crude from NNPC and he's also going to distribute crude again. No, I think it should be refined product.
How much is it medical bills and school bills go up $1.58 billion in 6 months? Does this indict our education sector and medical sector to health sector?
That I would say yes. Because you remember what broke out, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? That certificate saga. 6 months, 6 week certificate saga. If
yes.
Nigerian schools are up to standard, parents won't take children out of their domain. But because they want to give their children the best, and they are paying, this bill you mentioned now, is what they are paying for sending their children outside the country. The schools in Nigeria here are not being maintained. They are not. I remember there was a time when my son was in Karachi. I just took the pain, and a boarding school, for that matter, a boarding school. I took the pain. I said, let me go and see this place where my son is. They don't have functional toilets. They don't. In fact, the water they drink, I said, good. Thank God I came here to see this thing. So I spoke with the wife whether I should withdraw. He said, no, it's almost finishing. Let them stay there and finish. And we just managed. It's not advisable unless they have done that thing. No. So why won't I take my child out of where I'm even going to pay more to give him a better education? That's it.
Very sad commentary there. All sectors being affected. Let's looking at the issue of NSCDC 48 bandit attacks on schools. You're talking about safety of schools. At a point, the Goodluck Jonathan government did put some policies as regards protection of students in schools. Why have we left that arrangement?
Well, I wouldn't know at what point that arrangement was abandoned, because I remember when we were in secondary school, almost every school, I don't actually know if it applied to any other part of the country, but in Cross River State, where I come from, every secondary school has soldiers. They have a camp in the school where they live. In fact, soldiers took over the discipline of the students. So they had so what, and that is their job. It's part of their job, maintaining key government infrastructures. That is their job. So they should not come here and tell us this is what they did, so that to not take the glory from us. That's what they are supposed to be doing. They shouldn't be shouting when they are doing their job. Yes, they are doing their job, and it remains there.
All right, let's move on to other papers. We've got this day newspaper up for review as we look at big stories making the rounds. And we've got a Tinubu 6 review of global tax system, says it serves interests of rich nations. Tinubu 6 review of global tax systems says it serves the interest of rich nations. Air crash that killed Atahiru linked to terror financiers and retired generals claim. All right, air crash that killed Atahiru linked to terror financiers, retired general claim. All right, then we've got The Economist. Kidnappers are wreaking havoc in Nigeria is one of the headline story there. Let's look at that very disturbing headline. Air crash that killed Atahiru linked to terror financiers, retired general claims. So does that tell us that the ex-white chief of defense staff was actually killed deliberately?
Well, that's what a retired general is saying there, that it was linked to terror.
People financing terror.
Yes. So he should know better. He was in the field, and it was his colleague that was killed. We are not soldiers, but so we only follow events.
For this story coming out,
he has said it. He has said it. But why now? Why now? It's supposed to be at that time that this this story came out. So that we don't know how to balance it, whether it was fault. But now you have taken so much time before coming to say that it was linked to terror finance.
And for him to ask Mr. President to probe into that matter, is that realistic? Do you think the president would oblige such a very sensitive, story? Shouldn't he oblige?
I want to believe that if there is any meat to eat, the president can oblige. That's it. There's nothing spoiled.
Okay, we're still looking at this day, and it says Economist says the kidnappers are wreaking havoc in Nigeria. Obviously, we know that what is happening, but I think we can actually, like there was a story that broke, I think, Umar, where a man paid kidnappers fake naira notes. Are there ways we can curtail this ransom payment?
It's very, very terrible. It is linked to that first story that somebody was blaming the banks.
Okay.
Controlling this thing is simple. It's very, very simple, for goodness sake. We have microchips. You have banknote serial numbers.
Yeah.
You can use it in tracking them. In fact, do you know that there's a way with our phones that we have? There's an app you can use, and you track a naira note anywhere it is in this country. You track notes anywhere in this country. Security men know. They know. So when you pay them, you have already entered it into your phone. You now use it to be tracking and see how it is going. Are these people moving this money to the houses or to the banks? Or was it what that man said, blaming the banks? Was it blaming the banks for accepting the money from kidnappers, or blaming the owners of the money from withdrawing from the banks? You understand? So these notes are trackable. You can track them. If you say you want to, even the Ghana must go you use, there's a way you can track. But those people, I know they are sensible too. They can remove the money and throw it back. Because they also suspect, they are wise, they also suspect that you may have a tracker in that bag. So they want the cash. But even the cash, through the serial numbers, you can track it. You can track them. So what are we saying?
Can we say
why is intelligence failing us in Nigeria?
Or do you think it's deliberate in order not to, mask these evildoers?
I don't know.
Very sad commentary there as we look at papers making the round. Let's see if we've got on the foreign scene, we've got some other stories making the rounds, like BBC faces tougher scrutiny over bias. It's one of the talking points. BBC facing scrutiny over bias. Storm Aisha brings the to all chaos. And we've got never too old. Okay, let's move. All right, just looking at the BBC now saying faces tougher scrutiny over bias. Can media houses actually be without bias in the real terms? Is it possible for a media house not to have some form of bias, especially when they have their own in-house style, their own agenda, their own, will I say, government which they are likely to lean towards?
Having an in-house style does not mean bias. In-house style is different from being biased. But again, I want to believe that it's very, very difficult for you to see any media house, including the Western world, that is not biased. You have what they call ownership influence.
Okay. Which is bound to occur.
Of course. Now, let's assume your proprietor is a politician and it belongs to party A. Of course, that media house will never, ever say anything bad about that party A, even if they do wrong. Because you are afraid of your proprietor wearing the big stick. So you will do everything to stand where your proprietor stands. If he says,
regardless of what's the story or whatever.
If he says anything bad about the other party, of course that's your headline. That's your headline. Then another person is saying anything bad about party A where your proprietor belongs. That story is dead. That's if you even use that.
There's no objectivity when it comes to
that. There is none. there is only one medium in Nigeria, the electronic medium, I don't want to mention the name, that looks a little bit objective. A little bit objective. But I think I commend it. All the rest, including where I work, they are not objective. Abba. My former place was even, in fact, it was even noticed everywhere.
But why is it that when it comes to that, the ethics of the profession is put to the background?
No. See, when you talk about the ethics of the profession, leave the ethics alone now. Ethics are guidelines and rules, operational rules and guidelines. You are, even within the ethics, you can still do something untoward. Yes, it's true. You can still do something untoward, even within the ethics. So let us not go there. Because
so
you can
that
just...
means there's no objectivity in the media.
There is none. Now that NBC has been stopped from fines.
From fines, yes.
Yes, because it was good.
How would you describe that judgment by
NBC
Gobia
was the accuser.
Yes.
NBC was the prosecutor. NBC was the judge. In your own case. Abba. So it was even good. Unless maybe if they want to do something to serve as a punitive measure to the media house, they should come out with another policy. Okay, you do this that is against the code. The code. Take the person to court.
Shouldn't that
take the person or the organization to court?
Okay.
So let the court decide. Not you sitting in your comfort zone and you say this is fine, because you might commit this offense now. This media house might commit this offense. They give the person two naira fine. Right. Another one, you call 5,000 naira. So there are even disparities.
But with that ruling, doesn't it automatically mean that the NBC code is as good as it doesn't exist?
It's as good as it doesn't exist, because they only they cannot. They have clipped their wings. It's as good as no.
Is this not also? Doesn't it have its own side effect, so to say?
No, I don't think it has its own side effect. Every broadcaster.
You don't think
let me tell you, Tony. Every broadcaster in this country knows exactly what he or she should do. You don't inflame. You understand? You know the stories that we use, not to inflame the anger of the people. You understand? Because you as a broadcaster, you also fall into the category of being a Nigerian. And you will not want your country to burn.
True.
So there are certain things you don't allow to go on air. Either religion or any other political. Because if you start attacking one religion now, of course you have offended the followers. So you keep everything to yourself and don't put it on air. That's it.
Okay, for NBC, this will surely be a big blow for them. But let's see how this pans out. Okay, let's just a quick look at this, just to get your take as regards Labour already spoiling for war, as regards they have forwarded names to the federal government, people they think should be sitting on the negotiation panel for this new national minimum wage. For you, do you think Labour is going to, in a haste, to already started threatening, there's going to be protests and all that if what their demands are not met? Or
I don't think Labour is in a haste at all.
Okay.
Rather, it was the presidency that was in a haste.
Okay, by giving
not to
timeline,
have,
by saying in April they're going to start the payment.
Yes. Aside from that, they were supposed to segment the removal of subsidy. Since you remove it in a haste, in one fell swoop, fine. Labour too can say, okay, fine. We need, because now somebody was calculating how much he pays for transport
Okay.
from Ado in Nasarawa to the city center every day and back. Then he calculated, only transport has taken all the salaries that he earned. Only transport has taken all the salaries. So we are not talking about your children now, your house rent, your feeding. You are not talking about that one now. So what do you say labor is in a haste? It's not in a haste. Before they removed that subsidy they did on May 29, they're supposed to have sat down with labor. This is how we are going to do this thing. Do we go in phases, remove this subsidy in phases, or in one fell swoop? Okay, if we remove it at this time, this is the salaries of workers. And you come into agreement. Do you know that what they did, some people cannot even, in fact, they are yet to come out of what federal government did, that announcement. Some people don't even touch their cars again. Because when you buy fuel, let me tell you I know somebody, Gabriel, who he lived in Kefi, from Kefi to city center where he works, and go back, 10,000 naira is gone for fuel alone. That only just that day. It will not bring him back to the city. Now tell me, how much are you working that you spend 10,000 naira every day? You have not talked about your food. You've not talked about your food. One day he said he wanted to carry, he was going home to augment his fuel. He wanted to carry passengers. And they stopped him on the way, asked for his money. The money the remaining money he has, passengers.
They robbed him.
Yes, they robbed him because he do. So now tell me.
Very sad commentary there. All right, we've got some sports paper here to look at as we wrap up our paper review. The last and the only question I'm going to ask him is sports related, has to be the headline says that these wild dogs are deadly. Ex-Eagles stars fans caution team ahead of final group game. That's Nigeria taking on Guinea-Bissau at the African Cup of Nations. We've got Hamas ready to pay £45 million for Boniface. That's a Nigerian player there. Mid-season champions, Lobby's top of MPFL after the 19. And other headline stories, do well to grab a copy of Point Sports Extra. But looking at Nigeria taking on Guinea-Bissau, I don't know if you've been following the African Cup of Nations. Would you say it's been an interesting tournament thus far in terms of
very, very interesting, and ahead of today's match at 6 p.m.
Yes.
Today, Nigerian time. I want to wish them all the luck. I wish them all the best.
Were you impressed? Let them.
That is the last match of the group stage now.
Yeah.
Before they go to the knockout stage. I wish them all the best, and I do hope Nigerians will keep praying for them, because Guinea-Bissau,
Guinea-Bissau
is a country with a very small population.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they are not coming to play with population. They only selected 11 that will be on the field.
True.
So Nigeria has 200 million Nigerians. So only 11.
But what about
we call them 11 wise legs.
Yeah.
That will be on the
pitch,
field.
Yeah.
So whatever you do is 11.
You don't think the support from home it choose to give us a very sound living minimum wage in terms of something that to be helpful for the Nigerian worker. Already the tripartite committee is going to be set up, and we're looking for the names according to labor, organized labor. They've sent names of those they want them to represent them at the negotiation table. But we're here to hear from the federal government, and labor is already saying the pace of the negotiation or the process is too slow for their liking, because April is around the corner. So let's see our guest, who is Pastor Kester Elebe Sunu, a seasoned lawyer and an activist, human rights activist, also will be coming to join us to help us look at what we should be expecting in the coming days, weeks, and months for the federal government to do the needful so that Nigerian workers, both in the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, will be able to smile home, and everybody will be happy. All right, that will come at the top of the hour. We'll go for a very quick break. Let's join me in the next few minutes after this break. right, welcome back from the break. You're still watching Africa's Finest Breakfast Show. It's a global morning, and we're looking at something very important to Africa's biggest black nation, Nigeria. We're talking about the new minimum national wage, and the big talk is about the trade union, the organized labor, and the federal government trying to reach a truce. And like we already know, a tripartite committee would be set up by both parties. Already the names of those who represent the trade unions have been forwarded to the federal government, and the organized labor is saying they are not happy with the slow pace of discussions as regards reaching the new national minimum wage. And as is customary in-house here, we get the finest minds in the African continent to give you a very, very balanced analysis and educate you more as regards any topical issues we're looking at. And today's case is no different, as we've got one of Nigeria's finest lawyers and activist. His name is Barrister Kester Elebesunu.
Yes.
Yeah, I always have to try to get that name right. Elebesunu. He's my guest on today's edition. He has done lots of Zoom. So today he decided to come live in the studios, and we're so glad to have him live. And nice to have you in the studios.
Thank you so much.
All right, so let's look at this big talking point, talking about the new minimum wage. For you, what should be, when you say, when we hear the word new, and some say living national wage, for you, what best way to describe this?
Thank you so much, Mr. Omodu. Yeah. Thank you so much, viewers out there. It's a pleasure to be live on this show once more, Global TV. I must say that the issue of the minimum wage has been a contentious one. Of course, we know that in the last administration, it was a turning issue. The then Minister for Labor, Senator Chris Ngige, was one of those who took part in the talks to raise the minimum wage, as it then was, from 18,000 to 30,000 naira. And of course, since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took the baton from the last administration, Labor has proposed, as we all know, that the minimum wage, as you say, living wage, take-home wage can no longer take us home.
Yeah,
so that there was a proposal that it should go to 250,000, and then it rested at 200,000, and then the federal government promised that they will set up a committee that will jointly harmonize the interests of both labor and then the government, so that they will take a position. So that's where we are presently.
Okay, let's look at in terms of the fact that Labour has gone ahead to organize, they have gone ahead to forward names who they think should represent them at the tripartite committee. Is it very necessary? And from your own perspective, who are the people that are supposed to make up such a committee, looking at how sensitive it is, knowing fully well that the civil society organization plays a very key role, those from the judiciary also have a very key role to play, and those in the security also, then the labor leaders themselves. Should it be just the TUC leader in terms of Festus Osifo or Joe Ajaero of NLC, or should we have the independent labor people? Because nobody's talking about even the private sector. Who represents the private sector? From your own perspective, who should be the key people in that committee?
Well, I think if you look at the setup of labor, you have organized labor. Yeah. So there's no contention in the ranks of organized labor. Organized labor is made up of labor unions across various sectors, public sector agencies and things like that. So if the private sector is actually interested in this discourse, I think they should organize themselves. You understand? Because
are you an entrepreneur? Because you're sounding more like
well, every Nigerian is an entrepreneur, no matter what you say you are, because you survive in Nigeria. Yeah. So the skill of survival is an entrepreneurship skill.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Thank you.
Okay, let's look for you, if everybody, for Labour saying the federal government is not swift, is not forthcoming with the process, because they're looking at April for the commencement of the new minimum wage to start. Do you think this is a ploy by the federal government, dilly-dallying, so that when April comes, she can now say, okay, we're not ready, we've not even set up a committee, as a way of, extending this doomsday, so to say?
Well, I wouldn't say that. One good thing you notice if you x-ray the antecedents of the president or the current administration, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not somebody that rushes into things, right? He takes his time, looks at the issues, so that at the end of the day, when he makes a pronouncement or makes a conclusive decision, it's something that he can implement, and then the citizenship will see the value. So I think that the federal government has been overlaboured with the challenges, that arose from the actions of the previous administration. And they've said as much, that look, they inherited a lot of rot in the system. And you know that if you go into a room that is dirty and your intention is to sleep in that room, you first have to clean up that room. You don't just sleep immediately. So the point I'm making is that labor in Nigeria should look at the actions or the efforts being made by the presidency or by the government of the day to clean up our system. And then, of course, there's nothing wrong with the agitation and advocacy, you understand, but it should remain non-linear, as it were. It should not be confrontational, right? There's nothing wrong with telling the government, please wake up, remember your promise. Nigerians are not happy. We are not, there's so much hunger in the country. So nothing wrong with that. But of course, you should recognize the actions being taken by the government to put. There has to be concurrent policies that will enable the value of that increase. Do you understand? To be felt across board. I'm not an economist. So the economists will tell you the macro indices, the micro indices, and things like that. So it's not just enough to say add more money to the to the workers' salaries. Do you understand? There are several other factors that must be considered. I mean, what policies are put in place for us to have a free market economy? What policies are put in place in our financial sectors? What policies are put in place to improve security? There's so much. It's a holistic approach. So it's not just looking at it, just concentrating on minimum wage increase alone. Is being narrow-minded, as it were. So everything should be looked at. There should be a holistic approach.
Can we also look at it from the angle of, say, let qualification determine how much? Let's say they peg a 200,000, 150, 100, then let the qualification or work experience determine where they place each worker. Would that help the federal government and labor reach a truce?
I've always said, Mr. Momodu, that a lot of the rot in our system is in the civil service. You understand? My philosophy in life is that you are worth the value that you produce. Do you understand? If the service you are rendering deserves a certain level of value, then that should be the remuneration you should receive. A lot of civil servants are not actually adding value to the system. So what moral right or justification do they have to ask for X amount of remuneration? So the point is, the finger that points out, there are four fingers pointing back at you. So for me, it's not about the amount. The amount is important because, of course, if you work 30 days a month, do you understand? You should be able to have enough to take care of your home and your family. Do you understand? But what improvement have you put in that place of work, in that system to warrant such agitation? Yes.
All right, looking at labor now with the posture they are putting already, doesn't that make this negotiation already confrontational already? And how best do you think the federal government can probably, I don't want to say twist labor, but probably ensure that it doesn't get to a point where we're not talking about a shutdown of the economy or that?
Well, I would want to compare Nigeria to the US. I don't know if you're aware of what happens in the US, where, the issues are where there are policy disputes. Do you understand? And then they now start saying, no, the government, if we don't resolve these issues, the government will be shut down in the next few days, next few weeks, and all that, and then they start scrambling to resolve issues. Nigeria is a much more volatile environment because of the challenges. So for me, I think that it's a question of, it's a tactic by labor. Do you understand? And then the average Nigerian is sensitive enough to understand, to look at is Labour doing me a favor by taking such actions or such steps? Do you understand? So these are the issues to look at. The point is confrontation for the sake of political interest, or confrontation just to further the interests of individuals in labor unions is not the point. If you have the best interests of Nigeria at heart, you need to, your advocacy needs to be more non-linear, as it were, not as violent as and confrontational. Do you understand? It's a give and take. It's good enough you put it out there that, look, government is supposed to have done this at this point. So let the discourse be just like what we are discussing now. Let the discourse be there, social media everywhere, so that the government will feel the pulse of the citizens and know that, yes, actually it needs to take that action.
But most times, labor leaders will tell you that if you don't try to force the government, if you don't try to initiate strike actions, the government seems not to always listen or want to play ball. From your own experience as a Nigerian, don't you think that has been the case? And do you see that playing out again this year? Or
government will do what it wants to do. You know, the ideal is that government for the people, by the people, and all that. And that because of that definition of democracy and all that, that every government should be sensitive to the needs and of its citizenry, you know. There's no evidence so far that this government doesn't have the best interest of Nigerians at heart. It's not been in place for so long enough a time to make that conclusion.
Okay.
You understand? So so actions that would tend to antagonize the government is not really the best, as it were, you know. Okay. But action should be taken to sensitize the government as to the urgency of that decision. I don't see anything wrong with that, but there should be, as it were, a boundary. You know, we should not take it too far. Or Labour should not take it beyond where it's supposed to take it.
But looking at the Labour leaders we've had over time, do you think the Labour leaders that seem to do things using dialogue rather than being confrontational as a way they think unionism is when you go out, take people on the street, shut the economy down, that's when they begin to feel like, okay, yes, this is a true Labour leader. I think Oshomola and co have made it that pattern. Do you think we've gotten Labour leaders that think outside the box and probably bring other method of, you know, I'm twisting the government, but not necessarily using strike actions? Does Joe Ajaero, who got beaten up in Imo State, strike you like someone who sees things from a different perspective?
Well, just to digress, the issue of Joe Ajaero's incident in Imo State was more of a political issue.
But he denied that.
Well, that is neither here nor there. But on this issue, right, on this issue, I must give it to Labour. In the history of industrial relations in Nigeria, we have a rich history of unionism that has brought the likes of Oshomole and so many other people who are proving to a great extent.
Ayuba
Waba and the likes of that, and some of the pioneers of even the Labour Party who were unionists that led to the Labour Party. You understand? So the point I'm making is this: we've seen people who have demonstrated the capacity to agitate for the interests of the common man using non-linear approach, using dialogue, advocacy, you know, threat of strikes and all these things, but never actually being as forceful as some other nations where they resort to violence. You understand? Because they understand the issues. Nigerian Labour movement understands the issues and knows that there are boundaries. You know, as it were, just as they are doing now, they are sensitizing the government.
Didn't they cross the boundary when it got a time when the federal government had to say no work, no pay, and, you know, brought that into bear before Labour like soft-pedaled a little bit?
You know, it's a give and take. It's this tactic against this tactic. It's just the strategies that actually play out in industrial relations disputes and all that. Do you understand? There's nothing out of place yet, as it were. It is when they begin to resort to martial law and violence and things that they begin to say, come on, this is not unionism, this is not, you know, industrial relations These are not the things that actually supposed to play out during industrial relations disputes.
Okay, let's just take it to another level in terms of legally speaking now. At what point does the federal government truly have the right to invoke those veto powers when they say no work, no pay, and try to maybe go to the industrial court to force labor not to embark on any strike action? But we've seen several times, even when the federal government does that, labor will still go ahead and say, okay, they were not served notices or claim to not have known that there was a court order. At that point, what can the federal government do? And is it always right when federal government goes ahead to get those court orders?
Well, you are delving into the judicial or the jurisprudential aspect of there are laws that govern
trade unions
that govern government employment. There are labor laws. Do you understand? We would have to look at the labor laws, look at, of course, where the government feels that the unions are acting in breach of the labor laws. They are within their rights to seek judicial interpretation or judicial review, or seek for judicial orders that will call the labor unions to order. So there's nothing, there's nothing out of place.
But when they fault those, can they be, what form of punishment can they get, like labor itself?
Well, there are laws that result in sanctions or penalties of
can they be
wage with.
Is it possible to scrap them?
That is the kind of advocacy we see civil society should advocate for. Do you understand? The legislature, the National Assembly is there to make laws for the country, and the process of lawmaking is dynamic. It's not static. You don't just hold to one law, and as society evolves, you begin to look at your laws, begin to look at the ways to improve your laws. So if I can infer correctly from your question, you are trying to say if the issue of using withholding pay and all that of workers as a penalty, if it's not archaic or if it's not...
Is it legal?
No, but the point is, if there are laws that validate such judicial pronouncement or such things, of course, I would say it's legal. Do you understand? But the point is, are those laws still valid? Are they supposed to be obtaining in this current dispensation, in this modern era? So that's the question for...
Well, for you, do you think they are still relevant in this era, especially if you look at the kind of labor unions and trade unions we have currently?
Well, cause and effect. If you sign an employment contract which stipulates certain actions you are not supposed to take and says that if you breach this contract, in terms of this contract, these are the penalties, and when those penalties are being implemented, then you really know that it is you are the one who invoked those penalties by your actions or inactions, as it were. So it's about sanctity of contract. Do you understand? But except, of course, there are exceptions to every general rule.
Okay.
So where you know that you're within your right to take that action, yet you are being victimized or being penalized unjustly, you still seek judicial
redress.
Yes.
Okay, let's just look at in terms of time frame. Do you think there should be a time frame for negotiation between the federal government and organized labor, looking at this current new minimum wage?
Of course. I mean, the dialogue has been ongoing. It's still ongoing.
But the fact that they had mooted April as when it's supposed to kickstart, is the federal government being realistic?
They're within time.
When the committee hasn't even been completely set up?
They are not reinventing the wheel, as it were.
Okay.
They are not. The committee doesn't need to meet for 1 year to take to make conclusions. It's just to ratify discussions. I mean, decisions that have been discussed over time. So I don't think they need too much time, quote and unquote. Basically, I think that labor is right to notify the government that, look, April is around the corner. We need to take action now. On the part of labor, they are ready with their own representatives. So government just needs to make a pronouncement announcing members or their own nominations for that committee. And I'm sure if they do that within the next week or two, I'm sure before March ending, we should have a report that can now be implemented by the federal government.
Okay, recently we had in Kiruka visit some trade unions, Minister of State.
Yes.
Do you think that was a subtle way of government trying to lobby the trade unions already before time? And does that give you a feeling that this government might get it right in terms of, because remember the last Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, Senator Chris Ngige, he was very, very adamant, and for me, I attended one of their sessions.
Yes.
He didn't look like someone who wanted the negotiations to succeed, because he was adamant on many fronts. He had the posture like already not giving a leeway for negotiations. How key is the person who is going to lead the government side of the divide?
Well, you just made reference to Minister of State for Labour, right?
Yes.
A visit to
the trade unions, TUC.
These are the kind of visitations, these are the kind of approach we expect the government to make. It shows that the government is serious, takes them seriously, recognizes them, their role in industrial relations, and the need to dialogue and to maintain, close ties. So it's a welcome development, and I hope and pray that such dialogue or such interactions will result in the hoped for, results.
Okay, for you, as we wrap up our conversation, for you, what do you think is going to be the consequences? Let's just banter for like three different amounts: 250, 200, 150, 800. What's going to be likely, consequences, so to say, of any of these figures, and which of them for you is truly realistic? Because we know that some states have found it difficult to even pay the 30,000 minimum wage. For you, are we delving into something that might work for some big states, and for some states it's going to be a dream or true?
You've now hit the nail on the head. When I said that there are so many factors to look at when you're looking at it's not just to pronounce a figure. The capacity of the government to meet up with the payment of such amounts is key. You understand? And then the consequential effect on other sectors of the economy is key, So these are the issues. So I'm sure Labour is aware of these issues, and I'm sure that is why they are agitating for a roundtable, for the committee to actually have tabletop meetings to discuss these issues, and then to have a meeting point on, if and when the minimum wage is increased, that it will not have an adverse effect rather than the expected positive value or effect it should have. So I'm sure these are the reasons why. Okay,
in terms of domesticating it across board, because remember the last time there was this increase, the government, when there was the civil society organization tried to push to say federal government should force states to implement it.
Yes.
The federal government said they didn't have the powers to do that. Is there a way they can domesticate this new minimum wage in order to be sure that every Nigerian worker does benefit from it? Even though the last time the MBS came out with the internal generated revenue of states, we knew that it was only Lagos, Kaduna, and some 7 states that were up and doing.
Yes.
In terms of they met like 10% upwards in terms of IGR.
So you just hit the nail on the head. All states are not equal.
True.
And then, of course, you know that the state governments, the different state governments, or every state government is in full control of their civil service. So the federal government cannot impose a wage value on them. However, we are all Nigerians. So a Nigerian in Kano is equal to a Nigerian in Lagos. So if, for example, Lagos State has accepted the 200,000 or 250,000 minimum wage, so it stands to reason that the Kano State government should also look at accepting such. But then, of course, we know that the reality is that both states do not have the same capacity. So that is why this kind of dialogue requires the input of the different state governments as stakeholders, because they are the ones, the burden will fall on them to implement this minimum wage policy.
All right, we hope the right thing will be done. In terms of the state labor unions, would they have any role to play? Do you think they should be part of these committees, at least one from each state, as a way to speak up for states who might not seem to have that capacity to pay. If it's 100, then say, okay, for our state, can we make it 60? So that's something we're sure our state government can pay.
I think the agenda for discussion encapsulates issues of that nature.
Sure.
Because the union, I am aware that the Nigerian Labour Congress or the labor union movement in Nigeria is so stratified, is so organized to recognize state unions and federal unions and all these things. So the input of all stakeholders, all interested parties are always recognized in such discourse.
All right, we've been talking with Barrister Kester Elebesunu, who has been helping us look at the new minimum wage, what is being expected, and in the coming days and weeks and months, hoping that the trade organized labor will be able to reach a truce with the federal government so that Nigerian workers will get the very best of the new living wage, so to say. Here's for 30 plus minutes, let's look at this. So we're expecting the very best. I want to say thank you very much for joining us on the Breakfast Show, and we hope to see you more often. And thank you. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Likewise. Have a nice day.
All right, so that's how we end the first half of our discourse. In the next 30 more minutes, we'll be talking to another barrister at law, or they say, Chair Emmanuel, who will be helping us look at on other issues on our plate. That will be after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back from that first session of our discourse. We are the final leg, like they would say in football, final leg of our discourse. We'll be talking about very important issues. Now we're looking at the issue of budget padding. The Senate President has been sued by Serap and 20 others CSOs for budget padding from amounts of 134 billion to 344 plus billion, and so it has raised big concerns as regards looking at the current economic situation of the country, where Nigerians can barely feed, and also the inflation ravaging Nigeria, 28.2% plus, talking about inflation rate, and also the issue of the new minimum wage, which is still under wraps. And the big question is, why are the lawmakers still tripling their wages, which at the long end of the day would affect the entire Nigerian economy? All right, to help us look at this discourse is one of Nigeria's finest lawyers and activist, legal practitioner, the person of Oche Emmanuel, who has decided to grace the studios with us this morning. Thank you, Oche. Nice to have you live in the studios.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
let's look at the last time we heard about budget padding was, I think, the era of Goodluck Jonathan, where the 8th and 9th Assembly had that issues already. Let's look at Serap's suing of Godswill Akpabio. Was that the right step in the right direction?
Yeah, first of all, I think that was a very courageous step. Nigeria should begin to wake up to the responsibility of their rights, and then should begin to get conscious of what they owe those who are voiceless in the society. Serap must be commended. For Akpabio, historically, we know that he will not naturally put his hands on the ground to know which committee, which senator, or which member of the National Assembly may have padded his budget request. By the way, what do we mean by budget padding? Budget padding is simply making the estimate of a project bigger than what it should be originally. So this has been the tradition, the ways through which members of National Assembly has been fleecing the money from our national treasury. And corruption has actually taken its toll from the National Assembly whenever we come to budget year. For Serap, we should thumb off for them, and we should encourage other civil societies to take the cue from what Serap has done and be a watchdog on the National Assembly and every other agency to ensure that even when budgets are passed, they are properly implemented to the expectation of Nigerians.
Looking at how much, from 197 billion to 344 billion, that's like doubling the amount. And the accusation is that the House of Rep, Speaker of the House of Rep, Tajuddin Abbas, and Godswill Akpabio unilateral, made this increase. So can we say they did it for their own selfish or for the good of their respective houses?
It's for their selfish reasons. They are leaders, for God's sake, and they should be the first check on other members. And if as leaders they are not able to check other members, how would they check themselves? So it is for their personal pecuniary interest. And we know what some of them, particularly the head of the Senate, has been involved in. He is an experienced hand in such undercut. And we think that such is not to be tolerated. The Tinubu government should wake up to this reality that the National Assembly are unanimous in defrauding Nigeria through budget passage. And for us, that increase is astronomical, that history is dangerous, and it must be restored and returned to its original estimate. Whatever is increased on the former estimate, for me, is corruption. And it should not be tolerated by the Tinubu's government. For Akpabio, anything can pass. But for Tinubu, he should make sure that he extends his anti-corruption war to the National Assembly. This is one call on him.
Do you think he will do that, knowing fully well that he needs the backing of the National Assembly in anything he does? And also, we know Akpabio's antecedent in the NDDC issue, where we had lots of infractions. Do you think this war can be taken to Godswill Akpabio, and especially with the civil society leading the charge right now?
For me, I think Tinubu should go out. Politics is over. This is governance now. We have gone beyond the era of who becomes the Senate. He has helped Akpabio to become the Senate president, and Akpabio is there. If he's not doing well, I mean, there should be serious check, or else the integrity of the country. It goes beyond Tinubu, by the way. And Nigerians are seeing very clearly that there is padding of budget. And these things are done with reckless abandon between the Speaker of the House of Representatives and the Senate President. If Tinubu does not wake up to ensure that these allegations are properly looked into, probe, and then sanction meted on any individual that is found culpable, then Tinubu himself will be called to question. So for us, we don't see any reason why Tinubu will not do the needful, whether he needs them or not. If Tinubu himself does not have any issue up his sleeves, then he should be able to go up and probe the necessary officer in the National Assembly that have supported this. But Akpabio, we know anything under current can go. So, but we are worried about the situation.
Okay, let's look at the fact that the case filed on Friday by Serap is seeking the court to look at Section 81 of the Nigerian Constitution of 1999 as amended, saying that the National Assembly does not have the power to unilaterally, increase. Do you think the courts will be bold enough to stand by the Constitution, that Section 81 of the 1999 Constitution, saying that they do not have the powers to do that? Do you think the court will be...
Why not? The court is a court for all. Court for the poor, court for the
rich. But won't they
be
scared that their funding will be, we have hitches if they go against the executive and the lawmakers?
No, the court is blind to anybody. The court is blind to any arm of the government. That is why you see the insignia of the court, of the judiciary. It tells you ibi jus, ibi remedium. Okay. Where there is a wrong, there is a remedy. And so for the court, their hands are tied. They have no reason to choose to favor any party at all. It's a court for the poor, it's a court for the rich, it's a court for the ministers, it's a court for staff under the minister. It is a court for the president. It is a court for everybody. That is the last hope of every common man. So the court would not have any reason not to give justice according to what the precedent, what we call stare decisis, is, and in this case, the Constitution. And the Constitution is a gruner. It is the template upon which every other laws are formed. And any law that is contrary to the Constitution is to that extent a nullity. And so the Constitution itself has empowered the court. And if this issue is contrary to the section we are discussing now, the court will have no, yes, Section 81, the court will have no